What's up, everybody? My name's Hussein the Brain, and you're watching The Couch. These are my waiver wire ads for Week 5 of the NFL fantasy football season, and the dreaded bye weeks are also here. It has started. So there are 4 teams on bye this week: the Browns, Bucks, Chargers, and Seahawks. So of course, don't start any of those players on any of those 4 teams. Let's go on to the quarterbacks to add, and CJ Stroud yet again is my number 1 quarterback you have to add off waivers. He's lighting it up. He could have had so many excuses this year as far as injuries and young, unproven weapons to throw to, rookie coach, first-year coach, and so on and so forth, but he doesn't need any of those excuses. He's playing very well and is absolutely surprising me. He's putting that Texans franchise on the back and turning that team around. Looks amazing. A solid ad for this week if you need a spot start, and a great ad long-term as a QB2. Another great streaming option is Sam Howell. I don't fully trust him going forward, but this week he does play the Bears. Good things happen when you play that team. Kickers, running backs, receivers, quarterbacks, pretty much start whoever you have going against the Bears. And also, don't forget defenses. We got the Commanders D coming up on this video as well. Other quarterbacks to add are Matthew Stafford. He does have a minor injury, but is expected to play. Cooper Kupp should be back really soon, could even be back this week, so that will boost Stafford's value as well. Jimmy Garoppolo, we're getting kind of into deeper league territories here, but they do throw the ball a lot. So Jimmy Garoppolo, Josh Dobbs, Daniel Jones. I know he sucks. He doesn't look good at all. I was actually saying, okay, buy low on Daniel Jones. He'll be better. And he's not. So he's a very risky start this week against the Dolphins. But the Dolphins defense is not really good. A lot of very, very high scoring opportunities when you go against the Dolphins. They're always in a shootout, it seems like. So Daniel Jones will have to do some things, especially in the fourth quarter, which is dangerous. I usually like quarterbacks going against Miami, but that's quarterbacks that throw the ball well. So just to sum it up, Daniel Jones, good matchup. Everything's good, but super risky. Don't know if you really want to bank on him having a good game, but everything's lined up for him to do well. Then we have Ryan Tannehill, Zach Wilson, who looked very good against the Chiefs, compared to Zach Wilson, that is. Seeing a lot of improvement with the young quarterback there. Derek Carr, who did not look good and is injured, and Mitchell Trubisky in Superflex leagues if you're desperate. Seems like Kenny Pickett might miss about a game, maybe not. For running backs, I'm going to just say flat out, there are no good running backs to add in fantasy football. That's just the truth. If you want to see a longer list, go look at last week's video or any previous waiver wire videos I've uploaded. Guys like, Chuba Hubbard would be towards the top. Elijah Mitchell, who's out. Any handcuffs, Tajay Spears, Jaylen Warren, the usual suspects, the backups and handcuffs, they're all there. I didn't want to include the same guys every single week. And face it, if you're in a competitive 12-team league, those guys are all taken anyway. But I wanted to still throw in some more names. So really the only true ad that I like in probably deeper formats, even a 14-team league or any dynasty league, a guy that I really do recommend is Jaleel McLaughlin. Super deep sleeper. I've been talking about him for months. He's on the Broncos, and I don't trust Javonte Williams' health. I do not trust his health moving forward. I know this injury, I think it's a hip injury, doesn't exactly have to do with his knee, but still, this team is a mess. Javonte Williams coming off a very, very significant injury. So Jaleel McLaughlin seems to be, I would say he's better than Samaje Perine. Perine hasn't really done much with the Broncos. Anyway, good deep league ad, great dynasty ad. Latavius Murray I put here because he seems to be the more valuable RB2 on the Bills. This is not a good ad. I want to just make that clear. Hopefully you guys don't just look at the screen when I put this up, and hopefully you do listen to what I have to say about the players. All this is really saying is that I like Latavius slightly more than Damian Harris. This is still James Cook. This is still Josh Allen. That's who runs this team. It goes through Josh Allen, and James Cook is the main running back that's going to get the most points. Still, Latavius Murray seems very likely to be the guy who can get like a goal line carry and get a touchdown or something like that. And then in deeper leagues of obviously Eli Mitchell, he's still a good roster ad. But in deeper leagues, Jordan Mason could be good because we got Elijah Mitchell, who's injury prone. Matter of fact, he missed 1 week. He missed week 4. And then we have Christian McCaffrey, who's injury prone. And if that triggers you and hurts your feelings, that term, he's had a pretty big injury history, you can say. And he has the most usage in the NFL. It seems like Christian McCaffrey just running all over the place, getting carries every down, getting the ball thrown to. It looks amazing. But, yeah, after those two guys, you got Jordan Mason. And this is one of those teams where anybody who gets carries, anybody gets opportunities in that backfield will have a chance to be a top 10 running back that given week. Okay, moving on to wide receivers. At least we have a few names on here that are actually good. Jameson Williams' suspension has been uplifted or shortened. He will be back week 5. He said that his hamstring injury he suffered is okay now. It's good to go. He had plenty of time to rest up, so he should be playing week 5. And then we have Michael Wilson, who I've been talking about for several months, my dynasty sleeper, and the Alpha X wide receiver for the Cardinals. Just had a huge game. Very proud of him. And may I say, this is somewhat embarrassing and somewhat of a cocky statement at the same time. It has both in one. But this is the first time I have properly scouted the wide receiver prospects. I honestly think I got everything right when it came to my wide receiver rankings and how I talked about them and all that. I mean, I didn't say Puka would be the best or anything, but he was one of my top sleepers along with Michael Wilson. I mean, I loved both those guys, and we did draft both those guys in Dynasty. So it's happened. That's, it seems like a cocky statement, but, if you watch some of my videos, I also really liked Jalen Reagor and had some pretty cringy moments just a few years ago. I did not scout a lot of wide receiver classes, right? And it's very hard to scout wide receivers and sometimes even quarterbacks. A lot of NFL teams miss on quarterbacks as well. Running backs, I do pretty good. On running backs, I find a lot easier for me to scout. Anyway, he's doing well. I like him. Good ad. Quinton Johnston, he's already rostered in your league, but I did want to put him on here again. He does have a bye week. Maybe he gets dropped or something like that. And I do expect him to get a lot more opportunities after the bye. Okay, so as of right now, yes, Josh Palmer is the number 2 wide receiver for that team. But I do expect QJ to get more and more snaps and targets as the season goes along. He's basically a must stash. I don't know if we want to start him quite yet. Obviously, you can't start him this week because the Chargers are on bye. Tyler Boyd is a good spot start if T. Higgins is out, and T. Higgins seems to really want to play, but he has a fractured rib. I don't know how he'll actually play this week. They're going against Arizona, by the way. And then we got Josh Downs. Terrace Marshall, I've been a fan of his ever since he was a prospect, a rookie. But I'm just going to be frank with you guys. I think this is going to be a Panthers receiver roulette. We saw Hayden Hurst as like the main guy week 1. Then we're seeing Adam Thielen and DJ Chark. And we saw a little bit of Terrace Marshall early on. Now we're seeing him get double-digit targets again. There's not really a guy, other than maybe Adam Thielen, there's not really a guy that stands out for the Panthers. There really isn't. And this is also a team that doesn't score a ton of offensive touchdowns. So just buyer beware. I probably would rather just have my opponents adding 3 Panthers receivers than me and just taking up roster space. But I did want to mention him towards the bottom. Now, another guy that I'm losing faith in is JSN. I do still believe in the talent, and I do think he could be worth a roster stash. But reality is that Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf aren't going there, and this seems to be a miss by me, and I'm admitting it here. Is like, even if JSN does well, he'll probably be on your bench, and then when you start him, he probably won't do well. It's basically just reiterating the same thing here. DK is the number 1, Lockett's number 2, or you can say 1A, 1B, right? Those 2 guys are still there. We know the running back position's pretty prevalent there. They play a big role. Zach Charbonnet and, of course, Ken Walker. Noah Fant is doing some things too. It's just like, this guy is the 3rd option in the pass game and barely the 3rd option. So more of a dynasty guy. And then we have Odell Beckham, who should be coming back soon from his injury. At least I hope so. I'm not too sure about his timeline or anything. I just assume he would be coming back fairly soon, but he's number 8 on this list. For tight ends, we actually have some good ones. Unfortunately, I know some of these guys aren't available, like the top 3 guys here, or 4 guys. So Jake Ferguson, he's kind of decent ceiling, so I like his upside. It's okay. It's not amazing upside, but pretty high floor. They use the tight end position over there in Dallas. Then we have Luke Musgrave, who was a huge disappointment for me, but he did suffer a concussion, not necessarily his fault or anything like that. Concussion, usually you're only out 1 week or that game and you return the next week, or you don't really miss too much time. Now, here's a guy who kind of has a low floor, but even a higher ceiling than Jake Ferguson. I think his ceiling is the sky. So we'll see. With that, Zach Ertz, kind of a low upside tight end. I don't really like him, but seems to get a lot of targets. It's kind of up and down, inconsistent, but that's how the tight end position goes. Then we have Cole Kmet, who had a breakout game, nearly had like 30 fantasy points week 4. That was nuts. Now, here's one that, I guess it's not a huge sleeper, but nonetheless, it still is a sleeper because he's been dropped. He hardly got drafted. Nobody really likes him. And this is the same take I've had for months about Gerald Everett. He won't be fantasy relevant unless some of these receivers go down. And Mike Williams did go down. And we also saw Donald Parham suffer an injury. I don't think it's too significant. I don't know how much time he'll miss, if any. But still, once you got about 1 injury to Mike Williams and half an injury to Donald Parham, that still boosts Gerald Everett. I love his quarterback, Justin Herbert. So Gerald Everett, he should be available in a lot of leagues. You can probably get him for like $0 FAB, $1 FAB, especially now that he's on bye. Not too many people will be bidding on him. And other tight ends you can add are Dalton Schultz, having a little bit of a reemergence. Hey, he's got a great quarterback, so that always helps. A quarterback that throws a lot too. Logan Thomas is back. He is the number 1 tight end for the Commanders. We have Smythe, the number 1 tight end for the Dolphins, and this is just kind of annoying. Jonnu Smith, what is going on here? Totally replaced Kyle Pitts. But here's the thing, I just don't trust it. Okay, I know he's the leading receiver on the Falcons, the number 1 guy. I don't know how that is, but he is. I know that. It's just like, if you actually add this guy and you actually start him, he will turn into a pumpkin. I'm worried about that. He will put up a donut. He'll put up a goose egg. I don't want that to happen to you. So that's why I'm ranking him so low. I know what's going on. I see it with my eyes. I see the numbers, and I don't trust it. And then at number 10, we have Tyler Conklin, who seems to be the number 1 tight end for the Jets. He's ranked low. I don't trust him either. Okay, so moving on to defenses. We have some quality defenses, so that's pretty good. We also have a lot of quantity too, so we can definitely find a streaming defense. Once we kind of go down the list, it's going to be random, and you're going to have to get lucky, hope they do well, but that's how defenses usually go. We should still be thankful that there are some ads here. So these top three... I really like the top three defenses, especially the top two. So if you can get any defense going against the Bears, that always does well. So Washington is playing the Bears this week. Lions D going against the Panthers. So as I was saying before when I was talking about the Panthers, they don't put up a lot of points. So Lions D, they need to make a big play or two. But we don't expect the Panthers to put up a ton of points. As long as they get a turnover or something, the Lions D will score a lot of points. And then at number 3, we have the Ravens D going against the Steelers. Hey, maybe they start getting a little bit more healthy, but we saw them play well against the Browns, and I expect the same type of performance against the Steelers with a banged-up quarterback situation. Deontay Johnson is injured. Kenny Pickett is hurt. He may or may not play. Even if he plays, he sucks. And just last year, Kenny Pickett was better than Mitch Trubisky. So it's a downgrade at quarterback no matter what. Not looking good for the Steelers offense. Talk about offenses that don't light it up. That's the Steelers offense for sure. It should be a low-scoring game too on both sides. I think it's projected to be one of the most low-scoring games. Could be the lowest scoring game. I got to double check that, but I think the over-under is at 38, something like that, 38.5. Bills D going against the Jags. Bills D is great. Sucks for Trey White, man. He's out. Tre'Davious White's out for the remainder of the season. I think it was Achilles injury. Man, that's a huge blow, and just a talented corner. But still, these guys make big plays. And then we have the Dolphins D going against the Giants. We all know how the Giants are. We saw the Monday Night Football game. Colts D going against the Titans. Low-scoring game. Another low-scoring game is the Patriots versus the Saints. It's funny, a little bit funny, is Patriots are favored to win by 1.5. So this should be a low-scoring, boring, just a terrible, boring, low-scoring game. And that's kind of what we like for defenses. Just got to hope that one of them gets a big play. So I got both those defenses pretty close to each other, Pats D and Saints D. And then in deeper leagues, we have the Bengals D, Texans D, Broncos D, Steelers D in that low-scoring game, Jets D going against the Broncos. And, this is really not a bad defense. Like, you can get them for free. Packers D going against the Raiders. Raiders, they either don't put up a lot of points or they make mistakes. Like, it's just kind of a messy team this year. So, starting defenses against the Raiders, not a horrible idea. As far as kickers goes, Jake Moody, I think he's the best kicker in fantasy moving forward. If not, he's definitely solidified himself as a top 5 kicker. Unfortunately, he's not going to be available in your league, but definitely wanted to put him there because he's only rostered in about half of leagues. A guy that you can get that should have an elite performance this week and is a pretty good kicker is Riley Patterson. Now, he's available in most leagues. Going against the Panthers, Lions should have a big league. I love this, and they're at home too, which bodes well. So Riley Patterson's kind of the number one ad. Jake Moody is the one where people get mad at because he's not available, but definitely want to put him there in case people are in an 8-team league or something like that and he's available. Another sleeper kicker is Cami Fairbairn. I'm not sure how he's going to do this well. I don't have a good read on this Texans-Falcons game, but I'll tell you this. I do know this. I like the Texans now. I thought a couple weeks ago the Texans will still be a joke. I was dead wrong. Hugely bad take for me. They're a real team now. So he's on a real team, not a joke team. He's pretty dang talented. So he's a really good, talented kicker. He was just in a bad situation. He was on the Texans. But now that he's on a real team and he's a good kicker, he's kind of good to start any week. And then at number 4, I have Jason Sanders, who's about an average kicker. He's a little bit unreliable. He's not bad, though. He's not horrible. And if you need some upside, I would go with Sanders this week. enormous upside going against the Giants. Like, great things could happen when you face the Giants. A lot of extra points, a lot of field goals. Dolphins are expected to have a huge lead, so they could settle for field goals towards the end. They should be able to move the ball just without any issue against the Giants. Oh, and they're at home too. That bodes well. So if you're looking to maximize your points, I would definitely have Jason Sanders at number 3, okay? So Kaimi Fairbairn, you can see, I didn't put their matchup here. I did that for a reason. So this is more of that long-term ad or a safe ad, right? But Jason Sanders, oops, I did that wrong. Jason Sanders should be moved up for just this week, okay? All right, and then if you can't get any of those guys, we have Evan McPherson in a decent matchup. I really like Joey Sly. Problem is I don't quite trust him as far as his skills go. I don't know about his accuracy. Like, he's just, to me, he's not super reliable. I would maybe label him as like a top 20 kicker as far as talent. Like, he's okay, but I don't know, man. Just not quite reliable. Still, the matchup is amazing. I would feel comfortable actually adding him and starting him, which I probably will have to do in a couple leagues, because a lot of the people I play against watch these videos and I can never get these kickers. So it might be Joey Sly I'm rolling with if I can't get one of these top 3 kickers, top 4 kickers here. All right, and then in deeper leagues we have Nick Folk, Brett Maher, Anders Carlson, the rookie kicker for the Packers, and Graham Gano. Now, Graham Gano, pretty good talent. I think everybody on the Giants just kind of had a rough start and just been all over the place. It's been messy for the Giants across the board. But in the past, Graham Gano has been very reliable and very talented. And they should still get in the red zone and within field goal range several times against the Dolphins. I just don't think they'll be kicking field goals in the fourth quarter is all. So he's really not that bad of a start, if you want to put it like that. I just don't think the upside is necessarily there just because not too many field goal attempts for the Giants in the second half when they're behind 2 touchdowns. All right, guys, that is going to do it for this video. If you have any fantasy football questions, drop a comment. I do answer just about every single question. Really appreciate you guys. Tomorrow night and every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, we're doing Hack My Lineup, so check out that live stream. Make sure you subscribe to our second YouTube channel as well, Fantasy Couch Podcast, and I'll see you guys on the next video or live stream.